Yes. What can I do for you?
Yeah. Hello. So I had a question. It's about Surah Al-Baqarah.
Okay.
208.
Let's take it step by step. What are you? Are you religious yourself? You're not religious? Do you believe in a creator? What is your position?
Christian.
You are a Christian, practicing Christian.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
What is the question that you have? Okay.
Yeah. So it's Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 282.
Okay.
And basically, it talks about there needing to be 2 witnesses to something, so 2 men. But if you
Sure.
don't have 2 men, you need a man and 2 women. So my question is, does that not mean that a woman's worth is that of half a man? Like her testimony is that of half a man?
Again, you said 2 things there. You said a woman is worth half a man. A woman's testimony is worth half a man. Which one is it? Because this is not the same thing.
Yeah.
To say a woman is worth half a man is very different from saying a testimony of a woman is worth half a man. They're not absolutely not the same thing. So which one are you saying the verse is saying?
It's the testimony is worth half. Yeah.
Okay, sure. I have answered this question before in a previous video, but I'll answer it again. The testimony of men and women in Islam, in certain aspects, in certain teachings, in certain commands, the testimony of 1 man will be equal to the testimony of 2 women. For instance, like this case, where this verse is called Ayat al-Dain, the verse of debt. So if there is a debt written and you need witnesses that you've took debt from someone, etc. So this is the issues of dealings and loaning and buying and selling, these issues. And these types of dealings, generally, the testimony of a man, because they have expertise in these fields and they deal with these fields more than women would deal with these fields. So a testimony of a man can be equal to 2 in a situation like this. Similarly, in a situation of hudud, let's say punitive laws and punishments, where emotions can get involved and can influence a woman's memory, essentially, of how things happen, etc., or her judgment generally, or her testimony. In this case, also, a testimony of a man can be equal to 2 women. But in other cases and scenarios and situations, a testimony of a woman can be taken over a testimony of a man. Not only that the testimony of like a man is equal to 2, no, and in certain cases, a testimony of one woman will be taken over a testimony of 1 man. We have a narration of the Prophet ﷺ where there was a black slave woman, and her testimony was taken over a companion testimony. Someone who was a companion to Prophet Muhammad, who's an Arab, he's a free man, he was a companion. Her testimony was taken over his testimony. Why? Because the issue was to do with pregnancy and children and giving birth. So the issues where women are more familiar, just like we have in these cases, the issues with men are more familiar. You have a testimony of 1 man equal to 2 women. In issues where women are more familiar, the testimony can even be taken over the testimony of a man. So it just depends on the situation. And it is not like a rule that is applied in every case and scenario and situation, basically. But in the case of debt, with the verse specifically talking about that, yes, testimony is taken. And the verse mentions the reason. أن تضل إحداهما فتذكر إحداهما الأخرى. That maybe one of them would forget. These issues are not issues which they would usually deal with normally, loaning and buying and selling. And this is not issues that they usually deal with. So if one woman forgets, the other one would remind her. That's it.
But as well, women inherit half of what a man inherits, isn't it?
That's incorrect. Where did you get that from? So in many cases, women will inherit more than men. For instance, the Quran talks about, all you have to do really is just to open and read the Quran, rather than what many people do, hear Islamophobic kind of things online and then think that the Quran actually says what they hear.
I could have
if you open the
like
Quran,
it was in Surah An-Nisa. I think Surah An-Nisa, it says you inherit half.
Okay. So would you like to read Surah An-Nisa itself, that verse which will show you that you've not read the verse? Because the verse itself mentions different distributions in different cases.
Okay.
You have not read the verse. You've not read the verse. Do you agree you have not read the verse?
I think I read it a long time ago. Like I remember reading it because I have read the Quran, yeah.
No, if you've read the verse, then you would see different distributions. For instance, the Quran, the same verses of the Quran in chapter 4 mentions that if a man dies, for example, let's say, or someone dies, and then there's only one daughter left. There's one daughter left. The daughter takes half of the inheritance. There's two daughters left. They take 2/3. They'll take more than uncles, for example, or grandfathers. So they will take more than men in these cases and scenarios situations. So it's got nothing to do with specifically the gender of the person, where inheritance generally is 2-1. That's not the case. In certain cases and scenarios, they will take the same. Like the grandfather and grandmother will take sixth each. Both of them will take the same. So in certain situations, women will take more than men. In some situations, men and women will take the same. They're on the same level. In some situations, men will take more than women. In which case, the situation, the man takes 2. If someone dies and he has children, boys and girls. Why? Because the financial responsibility of a woman in Islam is not the same as the financial responsibility of a man in Islam. For example, when a man goes and gets married, so if you have a daughter and a son, when your daughter wants to get married, I think I don't know, are you live or something?
My life, did you say?
Did you hear what is the last thing I said?
Hello?
Can you repeat what I was describing and say?
Sorry, I missed that actually.
You're not listening.
Yeah.
You're not listening. So can you tell me what you're doing while you're letting me speak and you're not listening to me at all?
Oh, sorry, I was just reading the comments.
Okay.
No,
just ignore the chat completely. Yeah, the chat is irrelevant in this case. I said in the Quran, in chapter 4 of the Quran, Allah talks about different cases and scenarios. Some cases, for example, if there's only one daughter, she'll take half. If there's 2 daughters, they'll take 2/3. They'll take more than the grandmother and father, which will take, for example, 6th of the inheritance. So in some cases, the woman will take more. In other cases, they'll take equal. And in some cases, they will take less. In which cases do they take less? If you have 2, let's say you have a boy and a girl. This is one of the cases in which the man will take more. You have a boy and a girl, children. Now, if my daughter wants to get married, all that happens is a man comes, he offers her dowry, which is a marital gift, and he marries her. She has no financial burden from an Islamic point of view. After marriage, the man has the responsibility of taking care of her. So he will provide for her the place of living, the sustenance, the food, the clothing, all of these things. Okay? So she has no financial burden from that aspect. If the girl is before marriage, then I'm the father, I'm supposed to provide for her. So the woman in every case and scenario, she's provided for by someone. If she becomes a mother and the husband dies, then the son provides for the mother. So in every case, the woman is provided for. Now, in the case of a man, there is a lot more financial responsibility. You are the one who's going to take care of the woman. You're going to spend on yourself and her. You are the one when you're getting married. You are the one who's going to bring the marital gift, the dowry. You are the one who's going to be working and need to have a financial burden to take care of your family or your sister. So because of that, because the responsibilities, the financial responsibilities are not the same, the man would take more than the woman would take in that case of inheritance. But that's only one scenario, for example, or few scenarios in which the man will have more financial burden and responsibility than the woman. But as I said, in other cases, the women will take more, and in some cases, they will take equal. So it is not the case, as you claimed, that the men take more, 2 times the women in inheritance. That's not true. That's simply false.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Now, okay, I have a question for you now. So you are a Christian, you said, and you care a lot about women. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Are you like a feminist or something? Because I would see you like why women are asking these questions, but for a man to be asking these questions, I want to know what's the purpose behind asking these questions. Can you enlighten me?
Well, I would say I am a feminist. Yeah, actually, I would. Yeah.
You are a feminist, yeah, and you believe Christianity. And you believe. So can you tell me what is feminism? Do you understand what feminism is?
I mean, it depends on which wave of feminism, isn't it? Like I'm not
the one that you follow.
Yeah, like I just believe equal rights. You know, obviously women's suffrage, things like that. So yeah.
So you believe that men and women should be equal?
Yeah, men and women should be equal. Yeah.
Okay, and you said to me that you are a Christian.
Yeah.
All right. So your God, in this case, or your Bible, contradicts what you just said. For example, the Bible explicitly says in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, for example, verse 3, that the head of every woman is man. So that's not equality, is it? And the head of every man is Christ. So just like God is in charge and the head of every man, the man is the head of every woman, according to the Bible.
In the Bible, like the men have headship. They are in charge of women, but they have to love the other side of that is that they have to love the women more than themselves, basically.
But that's not equality that you just said. You're for equality. That's not equality. Why is it not 50-50 in the Bible? Because you're a feminist and you love equality. It should be 50-50. Should be both of them are the head of the household, not 50-50, is it?
Are you saying that you can't have equality if one has leadership? Is that because I'm not so sure that.
Do you understand? Do you understand that's what logic is? The minute one is a leader and one is a subordinate, they're not equal anymore, by definition. That's just common sense.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
This is just common sense. Okay, in First Timothy, for example, let's look at the equality that the Bible offers. If we read First Timothy in the Bible, chapter 2, you start learning from verse 11. It says a woman should learn.
Is this the one? This is the verse about.
It's about feminism, huh?
Women cannot preach or exercise authority over a man, isn't it?
Yeah, not just that. Let's read it. Why we should read? It says explicitly, a woman should learn in quietness and full submission. So the woman should sit there and learn in quietness and submission. It's not the man. Specifically, a teaching for the woman here. This is how the woman is treated. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. Okay? So the woman does not assume authority over a man. The man is the authority. She sits there in quietness and submission to her superior, which is the man. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. So the man has superiority. He's the one who was formed first. The woman came later on. So the woman should not ever assume authority over the man who is her superior, according to the Bible. Okay? And Adam was not the one who was deceived. It was the woman who was deceived and became a sinner. So the source of the problems, the source of the original sin, and the person who is easily deceived and was deceived and became a sinner is the woman, not the man. The man is he's the head and the authority. Okay? But women will be saved. So how are women going to be saved? Through the pain of childbearing. Yeah. So childbearing and the pain that they feel in childbearing. If there's a condition, if they continue in faith, love, and prosperity. So, according to the Bible, does this sound, the verse that I just read to you, does this sound like equality to you? Please enlighten me.
I mean, I think there's a theological view. I think it's called complementarianism or something, where men and women have different roles and stuff. So it's not that men and women aren't equal. It's just that like women are not meant to have leadership in the church and things like that.
Do you agree? Do you just understand when you're just talking about positions? And one being over the other, you're just refuting feminism that you just claimed a minute ago that you are for equality between men and women. When you come and tell me there is a position or the worldview that one is the head of the household and there is gender roles, that is the exact definition of being opposite to the feminism that you're just proposing a minute ago, which is a 50-50 equality. So how comes you're able, and this is my question, how comes you're able to come to the Quran and highlight these verses and have an issue with them, let's say from your feministic worldview, but read your own Bible and not find an issue with verses that are 10 times more severe? The verses I showed you in Islam has no issues because I already explained them to you. It's not the way you understood them. You misunderstood. Now, on the Bible, we've not misunderstood anything. The verses are clear. Now, reading these verses which are explicitly clear, how comes you're reading this and you have zero issues with it? But when you're reading verses in the Quran, somehow they are problematic. Can you just enlighten me? Why is this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because the stuff in the Quran, like, if I mean, for example, like the thing I said about the witness, the testimony, that's directly that a man has twice the value in testimony as a woman.
Did we answer that this is wrong or not? Right? We answered that this is wrong.
Yeah.
But you have something worse. Yeah, you have something worse. That the woman in Christianity cannot teach at all. She should be submissive, and she's not allowed to even teach a man. So if you talk about what is superior and what is not superior, she's not even allowed to teach a man, and let alone testify or anything like that. She's supposed to be quiet and submissive. She's not allowed to teach a man even. So how you don't have any issues with that? And in Islam,
in church, just to clarify, that's in church. Like there's nothing against a woman.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. The verse does not mention the church at all. I've read it to you word for word. I've read for you.
But I mean, the context is
that's not true.
Like
that's not true. That you're talking about a different verse. This specific verses from beginning to end does not talk about the church, and they highlight why. Because it says why that women should learn in quietness and submission, because the man is the authority, and it gives justification that Adam was fallen first, and that the woman is the one deceived. So it gives you reasons why. So it has nothing to do with the church. It talks about the reasons why the woman is lesser than a man in this case. So she's not first. The man came first. She's not allowed to teach while the man is allowed to teach. She should sit down and learn and be quiet and submissive. For example, do you know is divorce allowed for women in Christianity? Is a woman allowed to divorce?
If the man commits sexual immorality, yeah.
No. If there's abuse.
If there's abuse, no. It has to be one of them has committed sexual immorality. Well, specifically, you can divorce, but you can't remarry. This is if you want to divorce and remarry, there has to be sexual immorality.
Yeah, sure. So you're telling me in your advocation of feminism, you're okay that in your religion that a man can abuse a woman, but she's not allowed to get divorced from that man. Not only that, she's not allowed to marry anyone else. She's stuck now for the rest of her life with an abuser. So she lives with an abuser for the rest of her life, or alone for the rest of her lives, just because she ended up marrying an abuser in Christianity. So essentially, that is the teaching that is in line with equality and feminism for you. The Bible says in Matthew 5:32, I'll read for you exactly what the Bible says. The Bible says, "But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife except for sexual immorality makes her a victim of adultery." So if you divorce your wife for anything other than sexual immorality, she is a victim of adultery. So that's the only thing that you're able to do. You're only able to divorce for sexual immorality. And then it says, "And whoever marries a divorced woman," not a man, "whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." So it's adultery to marry the divorced woman. So where is the equality that you were proposing to us? So if you are a feminist, isn't it consistent that now you should have a problem with Christianity and not Islam?
Yeah, I suppose that there are problematic things about Christianity in terms of equality as well. Yeah, I suppose so.
No, not as well, because you've not provided anything from Islam. Whatever you provide, that responded to.
But wait, did you not admit that at least in some circumstances, the woman's testimony is half?
By another circumstances, the testimony of a woman is taken over a man. So that means that they both have different specific exemptions and different exceptional scenarios. So that doesn't mean anything that is one-sided. One side has something and the other doesn't have it. That's not the case. They both have different exceptional scenarios. So when the matters that they are more familiar with, like pregnancy and these issues, their testimony will be taking. The matters that men are more familiar with, their testimony is taking. So, and that's perfect sense. So there's no issues with that. Anyone who uses common sense will not have an issue with that for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, can you tell me what kind of a Christian are you? Since we already know you're a feminist. Yeah. We dealt with your feminism, I hope. All right, okay. So let me ask you a different question. What is your belief about Jesus, basically, when it comes to your creed? What is your belief about God? Who's God? Is Jesus God? Is Jesus not God? What do you believe about that?
Yeah, I believe Jesus is God. I believe in the Trinity. Yeah. And
Jesus said he is God, and the Trinity is in the Bible? Since you're a
Jesus does say he's God in Revelation. Like if you go to Revelation, he says that he's the first and the last. And if you look at Isaiah,
that's not true. That's not true. The verse that you quoted in Revelation is a vision and a dream of John. It's not the words of Jesus. It's John seeing a vision and a dream. If you read the chapter, it'll start by a vision of John, and in that vision you'll hear.
Yeah.
So
he speaks
Jesus,
in it, right?
No. So it's John is claiming he saw a dream of Jesus telling him that. That doesn't mean Jesus said that. These are two separate things. Jesus, when he was walking and when he was teaching his disciples, he never told them, I'm the Alpha and Omega, I'm the first and the last. A dream, you can see whatever you see in your dream. You can see, pink flying elephants or whatever you want to see. And Revelation is full, by the way, of metaphorical verses. I can bring you some now that you'll disagree with. So if I go to Revelation chapter 7, verse 1, where it talks about the four corners of the earth and every angel standing on each corner, you'd agree with me that the earth is not a table that has four corners, is it? So the vision of John does not support you. I asked you, did Jesus say he's God? And if we assume, because I'm a nice guy, you agree? Because I'm a nice guy, I'm going to say that, okay, let's accept that Jesus said that. Do you know that Jesus is not the only first and last in the Bible? So that does not mean he's God. Do you know who Melchizedek is?
Yeah, Melchizedek, yeah.
Do you know Melchizedek has no beginning, no end, no genealogy, no beginning of time, no end of days? Do you know that?
I've heard of that, yeah. But some people claim that some people claim that Jesus is Melchizedek, though.
No. In Hebrews 7, where it talks about Melchizedek, it says in the likeness of the Son of God. So if you're in the likeness of something, you're not that thing. So whoever claims that cannot claim that, because the scripture says that priest is like the Son of God. So he isn't the Son of God by definition. So those people are wrong, clearly, because the scripture contradicts what they said. So if we have Melchizedek, who has no beginning and has no genealogy, while Jesus has two genealogies, even if I accepted your interpretation of John, which is not true, by the way, because it's just a vision of John, Jesus never said that. But even if he did, that doesn't mean he's God, because then you'll have to say Melchizedek is another God. So where did Jesus say he's God?
I mean, there's obviously the bit about before Abraham was I am, isn't it?
Okay, sure. So do you know where that is?
It's in John, isn't it?
Where?
Yeah.
Before you search, I'll tell you. It's in John 8:58.
Yeah.
Now, John 8:58 specifically, which you just quoted, can you explain to me what does it mean before Abraham was I am? What does that mean? Explain it, because that's not proper English, is it? So what does it mean?
So the Greek is ego eimi, isn't it? And it basically
ego eimi, but ego eimi just means I am.
Yeah. So I don't know, like when you put it together with before Abraham was I am.
It says prem Abraham genetai ego eimi. That's what it says in the Greek. What does that mean?
So it obviously, I think one, it's him calling himself Yahweh, isn't it? Because Yahweh is I am is Yahweh.
No, isn't it? I just told you what the Greek says. There's no Yahweh there.
There's no Yahweh because Yahweh is Hebrew,
before. This is literally what it says. Before Abraham, i.e. Abraham, generated I am, or I was. Okay? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Because you're saying he claims he's God. So explain to us, how did you come to that conclusion from this verse?
I think one, if he's before Abraham, isn't that him saying he's eternal? Basically, he's
okay. So so you understand the verse. The verse is saying Jesus was before Abraham. That's what the verse is saying, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so the verse says Jesus was before Abraham. Satan was before Abraham. Noah was before Abraham. There's many people who are before Abraham. That doesn't mean that you're God just because you existed before Abraham. That's number one. Yeah, it doesn't even say eternal, by the way. It doesn't even say eternal, by the way. It just says before Abraham. So if it says that
if he existed before Abraham and he's there, then like I see your point about Noah and stuff, but Noah
that doesn't mean you're God. No. I give you Satan first. Let's take Satan as an example. Who is there and he's still there? That doesn't mean you're God. Even if Jesus is God allowed Jesus to exist before Abraham and allowed him to exist after Abraham, doesn't mean he's God. Plus, I already gave you an example a minute ago of Melchizedek, who is eternal, not just before Abraham, and you have admitted that he is not God. So when someone is just before Abraham, it doesn't mean anything. And by the way, you're misunderstanding what the verse is saying. But even if we were to take your interpretation, let's say what I do is I try to be nice with Christians and say, okay, I'll take your interpretation. And even your interpretation, which is not valid and it's not in accordance with the context, but even your interpretation is not helping you to show that Jesus is God. So where did Jesus say he's God?
So you don't think that the I am is a reference to Yahweh?
So okay, let's take the other understanding. No problem. I know it's not, but let's hypothetically take the understanding again. Look, I'll be nice with you. I'll go with you wherever you want to go, right? So let's say the I am here is what some Christians would say, which is reference to they go back to the Old Testament and talk about Exodus, and Moses was speaking to God and said, "Who are you?" And then God told him, "Hey, Asharih." They will try to use that. So we'll say, okay, so if you say I am is the name of God, that is a claim of the other Christians that they use. I am is the name of God. Okay? So what we're going to do now, we'll take your interpretation and we'll change the word I am to God. Because I am is the name of God, so we'll change I am to God. So before Abraham was God. I completely agree with that. Where's the issue? Before Abraham was God. And that will make perfect sense within the context. Why would it make perfect sense? Because they were asking him about Abraham. And they were surprised that he knows about Abraham, where he didn't live to see Abraham. So he's telling them before Abraham was God. So God existed before Abraham, and God told me about Abraham. So I'm telling you about Abraham because God told me about Abraham. God was always there. So if I were to take your other understanding, it makes perfect sense and fits the context, and it has nothing to do with Jesus' divinity in this case.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Where did Jesus say he was God?
The only thing I would say is I don't think he necessarily says he's God, but he doesn't have to, right? Because isn't that the exact word fallacy, like about having to have him say he is God? Like, why can't
sure. So now
other people?
Yeah. So now we have something called changing the goalpost. In the beginning, I asked you. That's the fallacy you're committing now. Not we're asking him to say God. The fallacy is called changing the goalpost. In the beginning, I asked you, did Jesus claim he was God? Then you said to me yes, and then you proceeded to provide the verses. When you proceeded to provide the verses, I did not tell you these verses do not say I am God. I did not tell you that. I said, what is your explanation? So I did not commit a fallacy of telling you, tell me exactly the words that I'm asking you for. I said, in which way are you claiming that he claimed to be God? Then you proceeded to provide the verses, and then I proceeded to explain to you why these verses do not show that he's God. So you did two things. You straw man my position, did something I didn't do that. I didn't ask you, give me the exact words. So you straw man my position. And two, you committed two fallacies. And the other one, you changed the goalpost from that Jesus claimed to be God. He doesn't need to claim to be God. So if Jesus, according to the Christian belief, came and his main purpose was to die for the sins of humanity as God, then people need to know that this is God coming to die for you. Like if Jesus is God, as you say, and on the day of judgment I die and Jesus comes to judge me, and then I tell him, look, God, you never said you were God. I didn't believe in you because you never said you were God. So I have a very strong case in this instance. I'll say, you never told me you were God. You never told me to worship you. And that's why I did not worship you and did not believe you're God. But you only said that because you know that Jesus never claimed to be God. Not only that, but also the Trinity is not there. Nowhere in the Bible does it mention a Trinity. So if this is the case, that there is no Trinity, and Jesus never claimed to be God, then you should not be a Christian anymore. Because that belief is not based on a correct foundation.
But can it not be that other people call Jesus God and then that's okay? Like, is it okay if as long as other people have called him.
No. Why is it not okay? Because there's other people who call Jesus demon-possessed. There's other people who call Jesus a snake or a liar, right or wrong. So if the criteria is what other people say, then we have to be consistent. We'll take what other people say in general then. Then you'll have a contradiction, because some people will say good things and some people will say bad things. And some people will say things that...
But the apostles, like, if Jesus gave authority to...
Where did the apostles say Jesus is God? This is the problem. You have the earliest groups that followed Jesus, like the Ebionites and the Nazarenes, right? So some of the earliest groups that followed Jesus, they did not believe he's God. They did not believe he died on the cross. So if you want to take just believers' words, then you should be consistent and take believers' words. There are many believers of Jesus who said that Jesus is not God. Until today, there are Christian Unitarians, Jehovah's Witnesses, many other people who don't believe Jesus is God. The thing is, what you're saying is that your God never told you he was God. And the Muslims' only position is that we say Jesus is not God, and we have a strong position then in this case, because Jesus never said he was God. So why is your position on Prophet Muhammad then?
What do you mean?
Do you believe he's a messenger of God? Do you know about his life?
Yeah, I do.
Or just what you read, the bad things that you read online, and nothing
I've read the. Have you heard of the Sealed Nectar Sirah?
You've read the full Sealed Nectar?
I've read most of it. Yeah.
You read most of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And reading the Sealed Nectar, if you truly did read the Sealed Nectar, did not lead you to the conclusion that he was a messenger of God. What you read gave you a depiction of a honest, moral man who put God first, or did he give you a depiction of what? What kind of depiction did he give you?
The depiction was good, but obviously that's not the only source. Like, I'm aware of Ibn Ashaq's
I don't think you read it.
I haven't read it, but I've not even read it.
Yeah, it's not available in English, by the way. It's not available in English anyway, so you can read it. You cannot read it.
But I do know what it says, and there's things in there which I found objectionable.
Do you know?
Like, for example,
Do you know what Ibn Ishaq says? No. Before you give me an example, do you know what Ibn Ishaq says in his introduction?
No.
That he's just collecting hearsay, and that this book will be full of reports that are fabricated and problematic, because he's not using a criteria of authentic narrations. So when you read the Sealed Nectar, which is relying on authentic narrations, this is the correct depiction of the Prophet. But you are trying to go to a source. The source itself tells you that these are not reliable information, it's just hearsay, and you are trying to get a different depiction using it? Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
All right, so what is your position then on Prophet Muhammad?
Obviously, he's a very important historical.
Is he
person.
a prophet of God?
Is he a prophet? I mean, obviously, he contradicts Christianity. So
he contradicts what Christianity is? Where did he contradict Jesus? Isn't Christianity to follow Christ? So where did Prophet Muhammad contradict the teachings of Jesus about God?
I'm not sure actually. I think
he doesn't. Jesus teaches there's one creator, and you should worship that creator, and you should pray to that creator alone, and that you should be good to your neighbor, and you should give charity, and you fast, and you don't eat pork, and you pray by falling on your face, which is the same thing that Prophet Muhammad taught, same thing that Moses taught, the same thing that Abraham taught. Now, what the church taught you later on, which is the Trinity, was never the teachings of Jesus to begin with. So there is no contradiction between the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, in this case about God, and Jesus.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
Then you should accept Prophet Muhammad as the messenger of God, since you said the depiction of him is an honest man, and he was teaching people to believe in Jesus, and that you cannot be a Muslim except if you believe in Jesus, Moses, Noah, Abraham, and the previous scriptures. Doesn't that make sense then?
It does, but I don't know. Like I've read a lot about like the things Muhammad's done, and it doesn't seem like certain things don't seem right. Like
okay, before you give me an example again, if Prophet Muhammad done things, do you believe that David was a prophet of God?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Do you know what David did?
Yeah. Well, you mean according to Christianity, right?
According to the Bible, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, committed adultery and killed a man. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what Lot did?
Lot. Yeah.
Yes. Do you know that Lot is called the righteous man in the Bible? And he's a prophet as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So isn't that hypocrisy that you're now about to bring a moral issue about Prophet Muhammad while you believe in prophets that had incest with their own daughters and committed adultery, killing men and
but isn't there a difference?
Worshipping other than God.
To you guys, you believe that prophets are infallible, right?
No, but we're not talking about us. We're talking about you. We don't believe any of the prophets did these things that I'm telling you. But I'm showing you're not consistent and you're not sincere. Because if you were consistent and sincere, you would apply the same standard to all the prophets. You would not use a criteria to reject Prophet Muhammad that you don't apply for other prophets of God. Or that shows you're not sincere.
Under my framework, I could accept him as a prophet, but I'm not using my. If you're saying to accept him and become Muslim, that involves believing that he was infallible, like that he didn't do anything wrong, basically. Yeah.
No, we don't say it that way. We don't put it the way you just put it. But what I'm saying is you would not be a Christian the way you are, because then you will say, I believe he's a prophet and a messenger of God, but you will say, I believe he's a prophet and a messenger, but not necessarily I agree with everything he did. That's how you will go to put it if you're consistent. You're not going to say, I don't believe he's a prophet, because your reasoning was, I don't believe he's a prophet because of the things he did. And you don't apply that same standard to other prophets of God. Now, give me that example. What is that thing that you're talking about that you're having an issue with?
Well, like, for example, didn't he have a concubine called Maria Al-Qatiya?
Didn't Moses have concubines? Didn't Abraham have concubines? Didn't other prophets of God have concubines? Didn't Solomon have 1,000 wives, 700 concubines? Isn't that the case? How is having a concubine an immoral thing?
Again, it's not. If we're going with my framework, my paradigm, yeah, I agree with you.
No. Any framework, if morality comes from God, the one who determines what is morally right and morally wrong is God. So if you accept Prophet Muhammad as a messenger, then the morality of Islam, not only in the morality of Christianity, but the morality of Islam says that having concubines is not an immoral thing. Captives of war, essentially. So there's no argument there. Whether it is on an Islamic point of view or a Christian point of view, there is no argument there.
But aren't there like problematic things with like consent and stuff, isn't it? Because I know that
we are not the one who set moralities. If you get your morality from liberal standards, then that's a different story. But we agree already that morality objectively comes from God. So if God allows something, and that thing is from God, then that thing is objectively morally correct. And liberal moral standards, which are not objective, are not to be used as a criteria, which is what you're trying to do in this case.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so this is I'm going to leave you with this and say that if there's any sincerity in you, you will have to come to the conclusion that you have to follow Prophet Muhammad as a messenger of God, because he came with the same message. He does not contradict what the previous prophets did. There's nothing that he did wrong that you can demonstrate, or anybody can demonstrate, but an objective moral framework that the prophet did anything wrong. So he came with the same message. He was a truthful, honest man, the best among his people without a shadow of a doubt. And that biography, if you read it, you'd have come to that conclusion. Anyways, Tyson, I'll let you go because we've been talking for a while. And I believe I did answer the questions that you came with. I did allow you to ask in the beginning. Anyways. All right, Tyson.
Okay.
Hopefully Allah guides you and you become sincere and consistent with yourself, because nothing will save you when you die. Your inconsistency, your biases are not going to save you from what is true and what is not. All right, Tyson. Bye-bye.